Overnight snowfall blanketed much of South Korea, disrupting the morning commute. Transit services were expanded across the Seoul metropolitan area after over 7 centimeters of snow fell in the region. Trade Minister Yo Han-gu held a series of meetings with U.S. officials over the weekend in Washington to address trade concerns. He said he focused on explaining South Korea's legislative process to dispel misunderstandings over delays in passing a special law tied to investment commitments in key U.S. industries. The hit song Golden from the Netflix animated film K-pop Demon Hunters has become the first ever K-pop song to win a Grammy Award. The track won Best Song for Visual Media, securing one of its 4 nominations this year. Hello and thanks for joining us on Arirang News. We begin today with overnight snowfall that has tapered off across much of South Korea, disrupting the morning commute. Public transit services in the capital area were expanded, with many opting for subways and buses instead of driving. Our Lee Seung-jae starts us off.
Overnight snowfall across the country has now largely subsided, with most major roads cleared and traffic moving normally in many areas this morning. Up to 7.3 centimeters of snow fell overnight in Seoul. Yeoncheon in Gyeonggi-do Province saw 7.6 centimeters, while Charwon in Gangwon-do Province received the heaviest accumulation at 17.3 centimeters. In anticipation of the snow, the Ministry of the Interior and Safety activated a Level 1 alert at the Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasures Headquarters at 10 p.m. Sunday and began emergency response measures. The Seoul Metropolitan Government also raised its snow response to Level 2, deploying around 1,200 pieces of equipment and 8,000 personnel to clear roads and spread de-icing agents. As of early Monday morning, heavy snow advisories for Seoul and much of the metropolitan area have been lifted. However, advisories remain in place for southern regions where authorities are urging continued caution. With the overnight snowfall, transit services were expanded due to a heavier than usual demand for public transportation. Peak rush hour operations on subway lines 2 and 5 through 8 were extended until 9:30 a.m., with 20 additional trains added. City buses also extended their peak schedule services from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. and maintained shorter intervals through 9:30 a.m. Korail increased its service with 13 additional trains across 5 lines, including Line 1, the Suin-Bundang Line, and the Gyeonggi-Jungang Line. Officials warned that snow during the early commute could still cause traffic congestion or stranded vehicles in southern regions and are urging drivers to remain cautious. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
South Korea's trade minister continued talks in the U.S. over President Donald Trump's plan to increase tariffs on automobiles and other key exports to the U.S. The minister has emphasized to stakeholders that a delay in passing a bill on South Korean investment in the U.S. is not a lack of commitment. Our An Sung-jin has the details.
South Korea's Trade Minister Yo Han-gu has been holding a series of meetings with U.S. officials and lawmakers in Washington since Friday. Seoul intensified efforts to avert a threatened tariff hike on automobiles and other key exports to the U.S.
I'm focusing on important stakeholders, including the USTR and the Congress.
His talks are primarily centered on explaining South Korea's legislative process to dispel misunderstandings over delays in passing a special law tied to Seoul's large-scale investment commitments in key U.S. industries, worth up to $350 billion over the long term, agreed last year. He emphasized that the delay should not be misconstrued as a lack of commitment by the Korean government, and added that the ruling Democratic Party has set a target to pass the bill on the implementation of investment commitments by late February or early March.
Ultimately, the U.S. also wants to do business with Korea, so we'll do our best on prioritizing national interest.
Yo had taken over from Industry Minister Kim Jong-kwan, who was dispatched to the U.S. for talks with U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. Kim returned home without reaching a conclusive agreement. The high-level talks follow U.S. President Donald Trump's threat to raise tariffs on South Korean automobiles and impose reciprocal tariffs, lifting rates from 15% to 25%. Trump cited delays in South Korea's National Assembly as grounds for the move.
We moved down to 15% for Korea as a show of good faith. They have not executed their part. They haven't been able to get a bill through to do the investment.
The U.S. administration has reportedly begun preparations for the potential 25% tariff, including procedures required for publication in the Federal Register, though the measure has not yet been officially announced. Yeo is scheduled to continue talks in Washington through early this week. All eyes are on now whether Seoul and Washington can bridge the differences and prevent an escalation in trade tensions. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, South Korea posted a record high January export total, with shipments surpassing $60 billion for the first time, fueled by a surge in semiconductor exports. The Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy says Sunday that exports jumped 33.9% from a year earlier to $65.85 billion. Semiconductors drove the gains as chip exports surged to $20.54 billion, more than twice last year's level. Auto exports rose 21.7% to $6.07 billion, led by strong sales of eco-friendly vehicles. Petrochemical exports fell 1.5% to $3.52 billion on lower prices amid global oversupply. And Hanwha Aerospace announced this morning that it signed a deal last month to supply its Chunmoo rocket artillery to Norway. The full package supply contract with the Norwegian Defense Material Agency is worth around $922 million. Under the agreement, Hanwha Aerospace will supply 16 Chunmoo multiple rocket launcher systems, guided missiles, and integrated logistics support. The deal had been considered uncertain due to intense competition from U.S. and European defense firms. But through a Team Korea approach of the government and private sector working together, Hanwha was able to win the contract by offering long-term logistics support and industrial cooperation. K-pop Demon Hunter's success continues, with the song Golden claiming a first-ever Grammy win for K-pop. It secured the Best Song for Visual Media at the Grammy Awards, and the song is also nominated in the Song of the Year category. Our culture correspondent Cho Young-eun reports.
After years of nominations and near misses, K-pop finally has the Grammy moment. On Sunday local time, Golden, one of the songs from Netflix mega hit K-pop Demon Hunters, won Best Song for Visual Media at Grammy Awards pre-telecast ceremony in Los Angeles. Songwriters Lee, Teddy, 24, and IDEO are taking home the honor. Performed by the film's fictional girl trio, Huntrix, using the voices of Lee, Audrey Nuna, and Rayami, the song marks a historical moment for K-pop, winning a Grammy ahead of BTS, which has earned 5 Grammy nominations but has yet to secure a win. The victory was widely reported by major global media outlets, including the New York Times, which described the win as ending a drought for the powerhouse global genre. Since its release last June, K-pop Demon Hunters became Netflix's most viewed movie of all time, amassing over 480 million views worldwide, while Golden also topped the Billboard Hot 100 for 8 weeks last year. The film's awards run may not be over, as Golden is also nominated in categories, including Song of the Year, raising expectations that it could become the first K-pop song to win one of the Grammy's top honors. Also representing K-pop, Blackpink Rosé also earned 3 nominations for APT, her collaboration with Bruno Mars, including Song of the Year and Record of the Year. In addition, Cat's Eye, a girl band created through a collaboration between Hive and Jiffin Records, were nominated in the Best New Artist category. The group performed at the ceremony but failed to secure the prize. Attention now turns to the last of the so-called Big Four awards, with K-pop acts still in contention for the Song of the Year and Record of the Year. Cho Young-eun, Arirang News.
It's been about a year since Korean temple food was designated a national intangible cultural heritage. Since then, the rising popularity has been drawing attention from audiences around the globe. Our culture correspondent Park Gun-woo takes a closer look at this trend.
Long preserved for centuries, Korean temple food is no longer enjoyed only by monks, but by food lovers from around the world. This growing interest can be partially seen at a temple cuisine restaurant in Seoul, operated by the Choge Order of Korean Buddhism, where reservations are often fully booked, including by visitors from abroad.
Today, it's a little bit similar to Japanese traditional food. It tastes more some taste of kimchi. This a little bit spicy food, but it was very delicious. And I love this delicate taste of this temple food.
Temple cuisine is also drawing strong interest from visitors outside of Asia.
What I think about is that everything is made with a lot of consciousness. I think the idea of food and also of the connection to the rest of the world, that everything is connected. Yeah. But this temple food was first time, but we will take it with us, of course, this idea, and we'll look for any opportunity also in Germany.
So it may seem like a lot of food and slightly different from what monks would normally eat in a single meal. But what we have here is a wide variety of traditional temple dishes. And one standout feature is that they don't use pungent vegetables, including garlic and green onions, nor do they use artificial seasonings. So let's give it a try. A wide variety of temple food includes whitewater kimchi, believed to aid digestion, winter spinach with sweet persimmon, crispy glazed mushrooms that surprisingly taste like meat, and buckwheat jelly with spicy kimchi. Bite after bite, slurp after slurp, diners keep tasting, some even lifting their bowls to finish every last drop. Thanks to its global popularity, temple food is also attracting more visitors from abroad, many traveling to Korea just to learn more about it. Building on this momentum, the Cultural Corps of Korean Buddhism is preparing to sign collaborative agreements to introduce temple food at prestigious culinary schools overseas, including the Culinary Institute of America.
Temple food is becoming so important because people recognize simplicity and the power of it. In a world full of industrial, Western, processed food, we want a healthy body and a healthy spirit with a healthy community, so that we can co-create a healthy world. And I would hope that all types of cuisines and culinary schools work towards that objective.
The Cultural Corps of Korean Buddhism even says reservations for temple food making classes are often fully booked weeks in advance. At the same time, the Choge Order of Korean Buddhism is pushing to have temple food listed as UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage. With tradition, philosophy, and growing global interest coming together, Korean temple food is now stepping onto the world stage. Park Gon-woo, Arirang News.
The battle for control between automakers and AI companies is intensifying. Even as they collaborate with AI firms, automakers are holding the line against relinquishing full control of their vehicles to artificial intelligence. Our Cha Yun-kyung reports.
With competition shifting away from engines and hardware, software and AI are becoming the core forces shaping the automotive industry. NVIDIA is putting autonomous driving at the forefront, defining cars as robots that think and move by AI. The company plans to deploy vehicles powered by autonomous driving AI on public roads starting this year. By collaborating with automakers, NVIDIA envisions a structure in which manufacturers build the vehicles, while AI takes charge of driving decisions.
But every single car will have autonomous vehicle capability. Every single car will be AI powered.
The market interprets this as a sign that AI companies are moving to the center of the automotive industry.
I thought the game changer was really NVIDIA going all in when it comes to autonomous. I mean, they are not watching us from the sidelines.
Instead of competing with AI companies, automakers are adopting a strategy that blends partnership with internalization. They're actively adopting AI and autonomous driving technologies while maintaining control over vehicle platforms, data, and services leadership. This shift reflects the transformation of vehicles from mere modes of transportation into integrated platforms combining software, content, and AI.
we are evolving mobility into an interactive experience.
Automakers reaffirmed that responsibility for autonomous driving, covering safety, regulatory compliance, and reliability in the event of accidents, ultimately rests with manufacturers. This reflects their stance of working with AI companies while refusing to cede full authority. Cars are no longer just machines for transportation, but evolving AI platforms that are constantly updated. Against this backdrop of rapid change, the struggle for authority in the automotive industry is becoming a central issue. Cha Yoon-kyung, Arirang News.
This is the world now, bringing you everything you need to know from around the globe. Iran's top leadership has warned that a U.S. attack would ignite a full-scale regional conflict. Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei told state media on Sunday that Iran will not be intimidated by U.S. naval deployments and vowed a, quote, strong blow against anyone who attacks Iran. This warning comes as the United States has increased its naval presence in the Middle East after President Donald Trump repeatedly threatened intervention unless Iran agrees to a nuclear deal and stops killing protesters. Meanwhile, Iran's parliament speaker Mohammad Bagher Khalibaf said Iran will designate EU armies as, quote, terrorist groups after the European Union labeled Iran's Revolutionary Guards a terrorist organization last week. He also said authorities will consider expelling EU military attachés. U.S. House Speaker Mike Johnson expects to end the partial government shutdown by Tuesday. The Speaker on Sunday expressed confidence that he has the Republican votes to restore funding for most federal agencies once lawmakers return to Washington. The U.S. entered what is expected to be a brief shutdown on Saturday after Congress failed to approve a funding deal as it was out of session by the time the Senate passed the spending package on Friday. Johnson said the House aims to fund all agencies except the Department of Homeland Security by Tuesday. Democrats on Sunday demanded immediate reforms for ICE following 2 fatal shootings of U.S. citizens in Minneapolis. Speaker Johnson promised 2 weeks of good faith negotiations on immigration enforcement once the rest of the government reopens. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer says the former Prince Andrew must testify before a U.S. congressional committee after newly released files detailed more ties to sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Newly released U.S. Justice Department files on Friday revealed emails showing Andrew maintained regular contact with Epstein for more than 2 years after Epstein's child sex crimes conviction. The files also include photos that appear to show Andrew crouching over and touching the waist of a woman lying on the floor with her face blacked out. Separately, the BBC cited a U.S. lawyer saying a woman alleged Epstein sent her to Britain for a sexual encounter with Andrew in 2010 at the Windsor Castle estate. Andrew denies all wrongdoing. Pope Leo XIV is calling for a global Olympic truce as the 2026 Winter Games prepares to open in Italy later this week. The Pope referred on Sunday to an ancient custom when states would lay their arms before and during the Games. He urged all nations currently in conflict to lay down their arms and seek dialogue, describing the upcoming Games as a message of fraternity and hope for a peaceful world. He specifically asked those in positions of authority to make concrete gestures to ease tensions. The Winter Olympics begin this Friday. Chu Ji-hyun, Arirang News.
There has been a winter storm overnight across Seoul and other central regions. Most of the capital area saw over 5 centimeters per hour at the peak, creating chaos for the morning commuters. And heavy snow is forecast to continue in Gangwon-do and some of the southern regions, which Jeollado could possibly see up to 8 centimeters of snowfall. So please use extra caution out on the roads. Meanwhile, the dryness in the eastern regions is getting worse, with severe dryness continuing since January. Concerns are rising about drought and large-scale wildfires, so fire safety is a must. The peak of this season's harsh cold wave has passed, and this afternoon we could see a high of 1 degree Celsius here in the capital and Chuncheon, Daegu, Gyeongju, Gwangju topping out at 4 degrees Celsius. And this week we expect no severe cold with temperatures gradually rising, but there could be a big drop in readings again on Friday, staying freezing through the weekend.
That's all we have for today's noon edition of Arirang News. Thank you for watching. We'll be back at 5 p.m. Korea time. Stay tuned.